Okay, listen to this. The Krabby Patty's secret formula is actually crab meat. That's why you don't see any other crabs in Bikini Bottom except Mr. Krabs and his own mother. He's abducting the other crabs and literally selling them for other fish to eat. Another piece of evidence for this is that crabs are actually cannibalists. They eat other crabs. Another piece of evidence for this is that the Krusty Krab in itself is actually a crab cage. What? And on top of that, the menu in the Krusty Krab is the titles of the foods and the drinks are actually what they are. So you have like seaweed fries and like kelp shakes and Krabby Patties. And then on top of all of this, if you guys want me to show you the biggest evidence of all, here is a video clip of Mr. Krabs eating a Krabby Patty for the very first time. Look at what he says.
So that's what I taste like.
What?
Look how beautiful this is. This is called a Brazilian rainbow boa. And now, because it's a boa, that means it actually has live birth. It can have as many as 20 to 25 babies at a time, and they're absolutely beautiful. They live in the rainforest, and they're gorgeous.
Here are 3 tips that could actually save your life. Number 1, if you're stuck in an elevator, do not try to pry the door open and wiggle yourself out, because that will upset the equilibrium and you will be crushed. Number 2, if you notice a car is following you, do not try to go to your house. You need to make 4 right turns in a row to see if they're actually following you. But if they are following you, you need to go to a police station immediately. Number 3, if you're outside during a thunderstorm and your hair starts doing this, you need to seek shelter as fast as you can, because you're about to be struck by lightning.
Here's the best way to reheat leftovers. Pizza. Place your pizza in a skillet over medium heat. Add a few drops of water and cover. When the cheese is melted, remove the lid, leave on for 2 minutes, and enjoy. Noodles or rice. To keep them soft and moist, splash with water and microwave with a wet paper towel on top for 1 minute. Then stir, and then microwave again until hot. Anything fried. Toss it in the air fryer for a few minutes on 350, and those fries will be even better than when you ordered them.
Pho is a Vietnamese soup consisting of broth, rice noodles, herbs, and meat. Pho is very popular in Vietnam, where it is served in households, street stalls, and restaurants all over the country. It is also considered Vietnam's national dish.
When I go on a really long flight with my guide dog, he does not have to go to the bathroom, and a lot of people are often very curious about this. My guide dogs have traveled on up to 15-hour flights with me and held their pee. So the way we do it is we make sure that at the airport they go to the puppy relief area and get all of their pee out right before boarding. Last thing we do. We also always make sure they've had a good poop before we take them on the flight. On the flight, we space out the food and water intake, so they're getting just as much food and water as they would if they were at home, but we're just strategically spacing it out so it doesn't hit their system all at once. The other thing I've been told by vets is that dogs don't feel the same sense of urgency to go to the bathroom like humans do, unless it's gonna be an emergency situation like a stomach bug. My dogs have never had an accident on a flight. I've never had an issue with it, and they've never had a problem holding it. You can also bring puppy pee pads, but my dog has zero interest in using them. He just seems to be happier to hold it and wait.
You guys are both bearded dragons. This is a normal bearded dragon, and this is a morph. It's called a silky bearded dragon. You can't feel it, obviously, but it feels like human skin. So they are just scaleless, which is really crazy and fun, but at the same time, it's a lot of maintenance. So you want to make sure that if you upgrade from a regular bearded dragon to a silky, that you know what you're doing.
So what's the difference between a fast shutter speed and a slow shutter speed? Let me explain. Shutter speed doesn't just control how long light is allowed to pass through your lens and onto your camera sensor. It's also responsible for the appearance of motion in your images. So if you're looking to freeze time, then you're going to want a faster shutter speed. If you're looking to add motion to your image, then you're going to want a slower shutter speed and most likely a tripod. For more tips and tricks, don't forget to follow.
I heard that Nike slides shrink in the sun. I bought a pair to run a test by leaving one in my car and the other in a drawer. Here are the results. It's so teeny tiny. It actually looks like a child's shoe. It's true. Look how small it got. Definitely had a problem.
So apparently, I never knew this, but dogs are either left or right-handed, or left or right pawed, if you will. And here's how you figure out which one your dog is. So if you push them to the side and they go in a complete circle, that's what hand they are. So right here, my dog is right-handed.
Random but useful things you need from Amazon. First up is this waterproof pad and pencil you could put directly in your shower. If you get a great idea or have something you want to remember, just jot it down and take it out with you when you get out of the shower. Next up is this coaster you can attach to your couch. It's weighted and stays in place so you don't have to worry about messes and spills anymore. Next up is this magic cleaner that removes pen, pencil, and marks from your wall. Add a little to a towel, wipe the spot, and it will completely disappear. And lastly is this flash drive that plugs into your phone. You can use it to free up space and transfer directly to your computer.
So it would start off at the 6 o'clock mark. I'm running on that ridge, if you would, or just that area where it just starts to curve. I make sure I overlap at that 1 o'clock mark. I give this glaze just a slight tap, so you want to make sure your sheet pan's relatively flat. We see that we're elevated here. We're elevated so that we can very, very, very gently get rid of those little tears that form underneath. This swiping is it's just the lightest touch. I'm barely grazing the surface, and now I just go ahead and I remove any of that excess glaze.
Beauty companies are clever. One company sat down men and women and showed them hundreds of pictures of just a woman's face and asked them to rate it from 1 to 10 in attractiveness. What they didn't tell them was that they put the same face twice, but with one of them they manufactured the pupils to look bigger than they were. When they looked at all the data, by far, every woman that had the same exact picture and the same face with the bigger pupils was ranked higher and more attractive than the one with smaller pupils. This supported the theory that when somebody has bigger pupils, they're usually excited to see you, and everyone likes exciting somebody. This was figured out by prostitutes, believe it or not, hundreds of years ago. They found that they'd be tipped better and had a higher chance of being selected if they dropped something from a plant called belladonna, also known as deadly nightshade. This performed the same function of atropine, which is a neurotransmitter you have on muscarinic receptors in your body already that help dilate your eyes. So next time you see a beauty commercial or flipping through CoverGirl, take a look into their eyes and see what you find.
If you cook a lot of chicken tenders, I think you're gonna love this hack from Raising Crazies. Okay, so grab your chicken, find the tendon, this white piece over here, slip it between your fork, and you're going to use the paper towel to get a grip on the tendon, and you're just going to pull. That's it, folks. Chicken tendy.
Did you know aluminum cans have a plastic liner on the inside? Not gonna lie, I'm curious to see what that looks like. Let's go. We're gonna start by making a sodium hydroxide bath. We're gonna scuff up the outside of the can with a little sandpaper and then immerse it in the sodium hydroxide bath. The reaction is between sodium hydroxide and aluminum, which liberates hydrogen gas, the bubbles you see here. It just fell over. Something happened. What? This experiment was totally worth it. Share it with someone who needs a little science in their life.
This is mercury metal. It's one of the only elements that's liquid at room temperature, and it's also very dense. It's even denser than lead, and it can float this bag of lead on top of it. Mercury is known for being very toxic, but in its metallic form, it's kind of okay to touch. This is because, as long as you don't have any cuts or anything, it's not able to go through skin. But it does let off invisible vapor that you can breathe in, which can lead to mercury poisoning. So, even though it is kind of fun to play with mercury and to touch it, I really don't recommend it. This is bromine. It's chemically very similar to chlorine, except chlorine's a gas and bromine's a liquid. It also lets off a lot of nasty orange vapor, and this is why I sealed it in glass. Bromine's really dense, and it's more than 3 times as dense as water, and this makes its vapor really heavy. Bromine's notoriously difficult to store, and if I just put it all back into a bottle or something, it would damage everything around it. So I have to seal it again in a glass ampule that I made from a test tube.
Saucy, yeah, bitch, I do this often. My bitch is bad, she always in office. So I got a tags on running my body. Can't see the pads, I'm living too fast. With 20 my dash, I'm up, but I lost him. He wanna brag, I emptied his bag and took what he had. Don't care what it cost him. Then he broke, he turned to a hoe. It seems before the shit exhausted. Ran out of hope.